10.2, relating graphs to stories. This is something some people struggle with. We're just going to do kind of some basic stuff here, give you some practice. It'll be good. So first of all, if you have a y value that's increasing, typically on a graph, this is going to be the thing that just kind of goes along at a certain rate. So it'll be things like time or mileage or something like that. Time pretty much always goes on the x-axis though. So when we're talking about things like increasing or decreasing, we're going to be looking at what's happening to the y value typically as things just flow to the right on the graph. So if you have the y value that's increasing, that's going to be, if you think about it, like your low numbers like 0 are down here, maybe like a 10 or something like that. So if as you move across to the right, y is increasing, you're going to be going from lower numbers, so maybe you start at 0, maybe you start at like 2 or something, but it's going to have to get bigger. So it could be a nice straight line increasing at the same rate, it could be curvy, but if y is increasing, it has to be going up somehow. So y value increasing, I'm going to make mine kind of straightish, maybe a little bit curved, but that's going to be happening as something is getting bigger, or if it's a distance versus time, it's getting farther away, something like that. If we have a y value that's decreasing, and you don't have to label y, but you could just think about that same, well, if y is getting smaller, well, our higher y values are up here, so we have to have the y going downward to make it be decreasing. So y value decreasing, something could be straight, could be more curved, could be kind of whatever. But that's going to be when you have values that are getting smaller, the amount of something's getting smaller. Or if we're talking about like a distance versus time graph, it's going to be something that's getting closer, where the actual distance of 0, once you hit this x-axis, you get down to here, then it's actually right to you. So if it's a car's coming closer, 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 wham, you get hit, and then car's getting further away. Okay, y value is constant. Well, if you have 0 down here again, 10 up here, whatever your number, if your y is not changing, say it's at a height of like 5, it would have to stay at that height for it to be constant. So this one has to be a straight line, and even more so, it has to be a horizontal line. So that would be a constant, or I'm just going to write not changing. So in this section, I maybe jumped on the bottom, we're going to have story problems given to you, like this thing number 2 in here, story problems. Then you're going to have to choose the graph that represents it. Or you're going to have to be able to make up a story that fits a graph. So you're going to get some things like that. So I just slurped these graphs out of the book, and we'll kind of write some stuff. The key is going to be, this first section here. So we have like this part here. That fits that first graph up above, the things getting farther away. So if we're talking about a distance from a hive and time, we'll assume they're talking about a bee. So the bee flies away. So bee flies away, so leaves the hive, starting, right there at a distance of 0. Distance is getting bigger, it's flying away, and it's like, ooh, flower. So it's slurping up some pollen maybe, so we'll put this right here. So bee stops, and maybe we could say on a flower, and it's slurping the pollen. I suppose maybe it stops on a blade of grass because its wings are sore or something like that. But then we have this last part here. Bee hasn't totally filled up, so now the bee is flying again, it's moving, so flying away. So maybe it's off looking for more pollen a little bit later. Okay, so bee, we're going to have similar, like 3 chunks here, so I'll maybe start with the green again. And this first part here, well, if you look at the distance, if you're ever stuck, look at the distance. You could even label things up. Maybe I'll quick do that. So we'll put down like a 0 and a 10. And you could kind of say, all right, so they're starting at like a 4 or a 5, and then, so starting at like 4 or 5, and now its distance gets down to 0. Ooh, so I know what's happening. So this is going to be the bee returns to hive. So bee returns to the hive because the distance drops to 0. And then it's either in the hive depositing the pollen, taking a snooze, whatever bee's doing in the hive. So bee is in the hive. And then very last part, all right, now my y values are getting bigger, so we have the bee flying away. So off looking for more flowers or more people to sting if you're feeling particularly pessimistic. And then I guess we'll quick write the last one. I was tempted to just say it. But okay, this part here, we have, again, the bees flying away. It's the exact same as over here on the far left, this bugger there. So bee flies away. Oops. So I have bee maybe leaves, or no, bee flies away from hive. Flies away from the hive. And then we have that top part, make that horizontal in blue. So this is going to be, if you're looking at the Y value, it doesn't change. So bee stops on flower, same as that first one. Or bee smack, lands on the glass window or something like that. And then the very last part, this here, is going back down again. So bee returns to hive. To the hive. But so this section, you should be able to kind of think your way through things like that. And that's all I got for you. Let me know in class if you have questions.